Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lumpe Mashum. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 4th of May. Afghan government and Taliban failed to agree on ceasefire during peace talks in Qatar. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins Weibo ahead of China visit. And Nepal pays homage to victims of earthquake on Purnima. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is one of the most followed person on microblogging site Twitter. Now ahead of his first visit to China later this month, he has also joined Weibo, the Chinese equivalent of Twitter.
Hello China! Looking forward to interacting with Chinese friends through Weibo, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi posted his first message on Weibo on Monday. This is first of a kind attempt by any Indian leader. Within hours of joining the microblogging site, Prime Minister Modi has already crossed 20,000 followers. Known to be an avid social media user, he is the third most followed person on Twitter after US President Barack Obama and Pope Francis. Weibo, which is the Chinese equivalent of Twitter, has more than 600 million registered users. Analysts say the move will help in reaching out to the Chinese masses ahead of the Indian Prime Minister's visit to the country. Many believe this is a way to attain access to roughly 550 million Chinese along with its government in Beijing.
Unlike the previous Prime Ministers, now Prime Minister Modi has access to roughly about 55 crore people who are part of the social networking sites in China. So I think he can spread his message of friendship to the Chinese people.
The move is in sync with the Prime Minister's vision of a digital India where technology plays a pivotal role in governance and policy making. The ruling BJP said this will open a new dimension for diplomatic relations between the two neighbours.
We have seen in India also that Twitter and Facebook connectivity is one of the most important connectivity, and Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has constantly been in touch with the common man of the country through these social platforms. Before the Chinese visit, the means of communication through the social media in China is definitely a welcome step because it opens a new dimension in social media diplomacy.
Prime Minister Modi will be making a three-nation tour to China, Mongolia and South Korea this month. He will be in China from May 14th to 16th. Chinese President Xi Jinping is scheduled to host the Indian Prime Minister in his hometown of Xi'an on similar lines on how Modi hosted him in Ahmedabad during his India visit last year. A number of key issues, including the long-standing boundary dispute and balancing the bilateral trade deficit, is likely to be on the agenda of the Indian Prime Minister in his maiden visit to China.
Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has ordered to intensify the search operation of 7 policemen who were abducted by gunmen in the Punjab province. Security cover was stepped up in the eastern province following the incident which took place late on Saturday after around 40 bandits attacked a checkpoint in Obaro and kidnapped the policemen. Sources said it was in retaliation to a police offensive in the area. The kidnappers have also demanded release of their accomplice under detention. Bandits have been active in the border areas of Sindh and Punjab provinces for decades. The military launched an operation against them in early 1990s, but they have resurfaced after failure to maintain law and order in the area, reports said. The Afghan negotiators and the Taliban have failed to agree on the possible ceasefire in the country. The two sides, which met over the weekend, had differences over the continued presence of US troops in Afghanistan.
Taliban representatives met Afghan political figures for a second day in Al-Qaeda near Doha on Sunday. The informal talks were hosted by Qatar's foreign ministry after the insurgents had escalated violence in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of foreign troops. Though Afghan government reserved in making any official statement, a member of the country's High Peace Council confirmed the meeting. According to reports, an 8-member Taliban delegation headed by Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanikzai held direct dialogue with Afghan officials. After the dialogue began, our people gave demands and conditions in written form. The Afghan delegation demanded we stop our fighting and announce a ceasefire. They called us brothers and advised us to come to Afghanistan and obey the Afghan constitution, a source from the Taliban said. The Taliban, however, reportedly refused to stop fighting until all foreign forces left Afghanistan, despite an assurance that the remaining troops would depart once the militia stopped unleashing violence. Sunday's talks were also attended by representatives of the US, China and Pakistan, sources said. Though the US combat role in Afghanistan officially ended in December last year, President Barack Obama, on request of his Afghan counterpart Ashraf Ghani, agreed to leave 9,800 troops in the war-torn nation to train the local forces against militant outfits. This comes despite the Afghan security forces struggling to fend off the Taliban, which has stepped up attacks as part of its fresh spring-summer offensive.
The Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for the murder of American atheist blogger Abducted in Bangladesh. It has also agreed to killing of Karachi University professor Shakil Oj and a number of others who, according to the militia, had committed blasphemy. A report.
The Indian subcontinent wing of the Al-Qaeda, through an online video posted over the weekend, claimed responsibility for a series of attacks targeting seculars and intellectuals in Bangladesh and Pakistan. These include Bangladesh-born US national Avijit Roy, fellow atheist blogger Washikur Rahman, Rajiv Haider and Rajshahi University professor AKM Shafiqul Islam. The video posted on a jihadi forum says that the murders were carried out for their blasphemous actions. Roy, who became well known for his progressive writings on his blog Mukto Mona or Free Mind, was hacked to death in February on the outskirts of capital Dhaka. Rahman and Haider were killed in March this year and February 2013 respectively. Islam, who advocated for female students not wearing veil, was targeted in November 2014. Al-Qaeda's statement comes despite Bangladeshi militant outfit Ansarullah Bangla team claiming responsibility for all the murders earlier. The subcontinent wing of the militia also accepted of murdering Shakil Oj, the Dean of Islamic Studies at Pakistan's Karachi University. Oj, who was known to have unorthodox views on interfaith marriages and women's rights in a highly conservative Pakistan, was shot dead in last September. Pakistan and Bangladesh, which are predominantly Islamic nations, have seen an increase in targeted attacks on seculars and liberals in the recent years. This is, however, the first time the Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for any such attack.
Dozens in Afghanistan face trial in connection with mob lynching of a woman accused for blasphemy. Several police officials are also held responsible for instigating the killing.
Video of the brutal mob killing of Farkunda was shown in an Afghan court on Sunday on the second day of the trial when the judge asked prosecutors to play the footage shot on mobile phone cameras. The hearing, which began on Saturday, saw 49 people facing law for kicking and beating the 27-year-old woman. While the accused were charged with assault, murder and encouraging others to participate in the lynching, police officers faced trial for failing to prevent the attack. Farkunda was beaten to death and her body set on fire by a crowd of men after rumors spread that she had burned pages of Quran in March. An investigation later showed Farkunda, a teacher of Islamic studies, was falsely accused. The act, which took place in the presence of police, was outrightly condemned by Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and other international organizations alike. It also sparked angry protests from women's rights activists who demanded strict punishment to the perpetrators of the brutal killing.
The Maldives government has dismissed the comments of US Secretary of State John Kerry, calling them personal views. Kerry had said the democracy in Maldives was under threat following the arrest of nearly 200 opposition supporters in the country.
Maldives Foreign Minister has said the US government did not officially share the concerns with the government and insisted Kerry's remarks were his own opinion. Kerry had on Saturday expressed concerns, calling that democracy in Maldives was in danger. We see even now how regrettably there are troubling signs that democracy is under threat in Maldives, where the former president Mohammad Nasheed has been imprisoned without due process. That is an injustice that must be addressed soon, Kerry said while on a visit to Sri Lanka. The statement came after mass arrests were made during an anti-government demonstration in Malé late on Friday against the imprisonment of ex-Maldivian President Mohammad Nasheed. According to reports, 3 opposition leaders and nearly 200 other people were detained for inciting and engaging in violence against the state after clashes erupted between police and protesters demanding the resignation of President Abdullah Yamin Gayoom. Police also fired tear gas and baton-charged protesters during what was the biggest show of support for Nasheed. The country's first democratically elected president, Nasheed, was sentenced to 13 years imprisonment in March 2015. The trial process was, however, criticized internationally, including the UN and the Amnesty International. The European Parliament had last week passed a resolution urging the government to release Nasheed immediately.
A week after Nepal witnessed its biggest calamity in 8 decades, the Himalayan nation prayed for the victims of the massive earthquake. At least 7,250 people have been confirmed dead in the catastrophe so far.
Despite hogging memories of one of the deadliest earthquakes Nepal has witnessed, people in capital Kathmandu prayed for the departed souls on the occasion of Buddha Purnima on Monday. Residents left their agony aside and visited temples to mark the birth anniversary of Lord Buddha by carrying out rituals seeking peace. They said their heart went out for the victims of the quake as they prayed to give strength to their families.
हर आदमी आज का दिन प्रे कर रहा है इसको लामा भाषा में न्यू ने कहते हैं ये जितना लोग है ना वो मर गए ना उसका लागे स्वर्ग में वास हो लेकिन फिर ये माँ भूकंप विभिन्न रोगहरू ऐसा ना आए.
Monks from across the country gathered at various monasteries as they chanted prayers for those killed and injured in earthquake.
अब ये जो भूकंप महाभूकंप से जो पीड़ित लोग हैं या पीड़ित लोग तीन किस्म का है. एक तो दिवंगत हो गया, परलोक हो गया है. उन लोगों का अच्छी तरह से पुनर्जन या तो उनका मोक्ष प्राप्ति निर्वाण प्राप्ति की आवश्यकता है. और जो घायते हुआ है, इंजर्ड हुआ है, उन लोगों का स्वास्थ्य लाभ का अत्यंत जरूरी है.
The death toll crossed 7,000 after the bodies of 6 foreigners and 45 Nepalese were found on a popular trekking route on the Himalayas over the weekend. Nepal government on Sunday said the number could rise further as there was little hope of finding any more survivors. The toll is also likely to jump once relief teams reach mountain villages flattened in the disaster, which had remained inaccessible so far. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake wreaked a trail of death and destruction on April 25th, reducing much of capital Kathmandu to rubble and triggering a deadly avalanche on Mount Everest. In the worst-hit districts of Gorkha and Sindhupal Chowk, almost 90% of the mostly stone and mud homes have been destroyed, the United Nations said in its latest situation report. After the government ruled out finding more survivors, the focus has now shifted to delivering food, tents and other relief material to thousands of affected people in the remote areas.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. Afghan government and Taliban failed to agree on ceasefire during peace talks in Qatar. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins Weibo ahead of China visit. And Nepal pays homage to victims of earthquake on Buddha Purnima. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.